Do you think that Jonah's growing pains could be eased by moving him to the right side, his college position, primarily at guard?
I don't necessarily know if that's the easy solution. I think it's always just when you're a rookie, there's a process to it, and everyone wants it to be perfect and ready to go. So the one thing is that he's very aware, he's confident how he's going to play, and he's working to improve, like all of us are from improving from last game.
And one follow-up on that. Learning, obviously, offensive line as a rookie is difficult enough. I don't know that we ever asked you or Mike, why do you all opt, I say this respectfully, obviously, why do you all opt to make it more difficult for him by putting him in a position that he hadn't played much?
I think is when you're really you're looking at like long-term vision and plan of basically, putting him on the same size as Pat, and then having those two guys building the chemistry and rapport that we hope to attain. And it wasn't necessarily looking at like, okay, the result now. It was looking towards what we could have for the future.
Frank, with Darren Waller in the second half last week, was it bracket coverage that they used, number one, and number two, whatever they did, are you concerned it could be a template for other teams moving forward?
No, not necessarily. I mean, he's a dynamic playmaker, and it's awesome to see in 2 games he's had 3 touchdowns, he had 3 touchdowns in 2019 compared to all his other production. The one thing he's never had kind of in our time together wasn't, I think he had 10 touchdowns in 2 years. So the fact he's got like 3 quickly has been awesome to see, because normally in our time at the Raiders, he was our leading receiver. I mean, he was our number 1 targeted guy and produced week in and week out. So his production, obviously, as he's working back into the offense, is going to be important. And that's one thing about him, man. He's the big guy. He's an exciting player to watch.
Did Tua hit his thumb on a helmet? Is that how he got the thumb?
I can't remember exactly how it was, but yeah, ultimately he's working through stuff for the week, and we're not overall concerned for Sunday.
Do you think he can throw it fine?
Yeah.
So he's expected to play?
Yeah, we're working through the process to Sunday, but I mean, we're not anticipating any setbacks for him for playing on Sunday.
And is the hip a concern at all?
No, both of them are just parts of, I think when you're playing quarterback, there's contact that comes, but ultimately we're working through and not really anticipating anything as far as Sunday and hindering his performance.
In a week like this, how much work does Zach Wilson get on a regular basis? And in a week like this where Tua is limited somewhat, how much does it increase?
I don't think it's necessarily like you work from that realm of like, hey, all of a sudden you got to be planning on stuff. I mean, the one thing that they get all the show team reps, and they get a heavy amount of that, and then they're always working each week in preparation for if anything were to happen, like all the position groups are. But yeah, everyone's. I mean, I think when you look at all positions, they have to have the mental mindset to be ready at any time, because whether you're a wideout, a lineman, tight end, anyone, I mean, you're one play from being the starter, so everyone's got to have that mindset in their preparation.
Is the hip the same side that ended the season last year?
To be honest, right now, I mean, I can't recall right now which one it is, just because in my head right now I got quarters and a couple other things in my head, so I can't recall right now off the top of my head, Joe.
What did you guys like from Waddle in his first game without Tyreek in a while?
Yeah, I thought we thought he did a really good job. He was executing the game plan. The touchdown at the end of the game obviously was great for him to get connected with Tua on that. So, yeah, overall good job. I mean, ultimately, when you look at the game, it's just not the result we wanted in the second half. The first half, that's what we need to build upon going forward for the future.
You think you guys are doing well enough with making halftime adjustments?
Yeah, I think it was more of like the second half. There's some execution things that you hate to. I mean, there's no excuses. The result's the result. There's certain things compounded with the short week in preparation that we have to be on for our details in the second half. I think that ultimately it's not as far as adjustments. It's about making sure that we're fundamentally where we need to be and executing our techniques and stuff like that.
I'm not big into personnel packages. A couple of people have told me that you guys did very well with the 22 personnel last week, including maybe Waddle's 46-yard touchdown pass. Is it as simple as we're doing well, we should run more 22 personnel? Can you kind of explain how that works to me?
No, it kind of works into what personnel groups yield what defense you're anticipating. So the different groupings are also about the attack of what you're anticipating to see. So when you kick out different groupings, bigger groupings, you can normally attribute it to base defense. You think you can get their base defense or a version of their defense that you think is vulnerable to the concept you're using. So I think ultimately that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get your people in to attack the parts of the defense, and their different packages they have as well.
Can you force the action by saying, this is what we're doing, you guys match up with us because we're effective at that?
I mean, you try to, but at the same time, I mean, you could trot out goal line. They could bring out dime. I mean, back in the old days where it was like, okay, you bring out 22 or 13, they bring out base. Nowadays, it's kind of, you have to know who you're facing and how do they want to call the game, because you could. I still remember it was like, what was it? I was at the Raiders and John kicked out 13 personnel on like 3rd and 3, thinking we'd get base defense, and we got dime. And he's like, they're in dime, and I'm like, oh, clearly they thought it was a long third and longer than 3rd and 2. They didn't think it was short yardage. So it's just, you anticipate it with what you send out, and you're trying to attack what you anticipate the defense will be.
Frank, Anthony had this kind of interesting sentiment about not wanting to coach guys into paralysis. And I know I don't want to make you answer for something somebody else said, but I'm just wondering how prevalent of a philosophy that is, especially when, you know, you're dropping games and you're trying to right the ship, like, and you want to make sure, okay, these guys all know what they're doing and know this, and this. Like, how do you find that balance between over communicating and over coaching versus letting guys play and letting guys figure it out?
That's a sentiment that I can honestly say I've always adhered to over the years. When you go through tough times, you look at your communication and how can you make it more concise? How can you say more with less? So I found that, especially for me personally as a position coach, my time in Chicago, we obviously weren't very successful, but it allowed me to really tighten up what I was saying and was able to communicate. Because my last year in Chicago was Adam Sheen was a rookie, and had to really make sure he understood what to do and try and simplify my communication to him. So therefore, it was like, you know, hey, A and B, be ready for C, and then that way you can tighten up what you're saying. And I felt that time for me really helped me in preparation for when I went to Oakland, and then having Jared, who is a vet, who is older, and then having that concise communication really helped him. And that was why he even honestly says still to this day, like, that year really helped him understand a lot of things. That's how he got to the Pro Bowl. And it really helped me the next year then for Darren and Foster, who were both really coming off practice squad, and one was a rookie 4th rounder. So it's all about perspective when you look at things. So you can use this time to really tighten up what you say to help the guys. I think you don't want to oversimplify or overload. You want to figure out, how can I say and get the message across quicker and tighter so it really sticks with them.
This offense is at its best when it's got play action, and obviously play action requires a run game. What was it about Carolina that had allowed them to have that kind of success on running downs for you guys?
I wouldn't say necessarily. When you look back, it's just execution, and when you don't have the execution at critical times, then all of a sudden it stacks up and it gets magnified. Where if we were able to have this, the second half kind of mirror the first half, then if the run game is not executing, the pass game, complements, and then all of a sudden at the end you can catch into the rhythm once you get the reps. So I think ultimately from us, as you look at it, it's the second half execution was not where we needed to be. The first half, even though the run game wasn't necessarily where it was, the pass game was moving us down the field. And that normally is, they're now having to defend something else to take away it, then you can work in conjunction as an offense. So it's like, it's unfortunate that you have to, have a game like that, and we understand now what we need to do to make sure we're on it for this game.